have bounced back in this tournament. I have 2 points out of 3 and I got dealt this weird pairing. I'm playing a 1700. Welcome to the game recap of my round 4 of the Cambridge Open. I was playing the white pieces against a 1700 and in the database I found something very interesting about my opponent. My opponent mains a very poor opening called the Lion's Defense. If you have heard about this, let me know in the comments below because I have never heard about this. I play e4, I prepared really well against this, d6, and I go d4, and this is the opening basically. It's like a Pierce, but you go knight d7 here, and that's very, very bad, and I intended to punish this, so I go f4 in this position. My opponent goes with e5, and I had looked at this all morning. I'd looked at different moves, c5, g6, e6, e5 is usually what my opponent plays. I go with knight f3, pressuring this center, and the goal is that white is just going to develop quick and castle long here and put pressure along this file and on this pawn. My opponent takes, and I take with the queen, and this is why you should take your queen out in the center when you're not a beginner. Here my queen is out in the center, but the only ways to kick my queen are c5, which greatly injures this d5 square here. So my queen cannot be really kicked with a development move, usually with the knight on c6, and hence my queen is actually a really strong piece in the center in this opening. c6 is played. I had seen only bishop e7. I had seen c6 too, but I forgot it completely. So after c6, I'm out of prep, and I was looking as to what to play here, and I think this is my first very long move. And I was looking at e5 because the idea in this opening is that eventually you play e5 and you play against this knight that has to go either here or to disastrous squares. It's really, really a bad opening. The engine like completely kills this. A top engine like says 1.5 for white out of the opening. It's wild. But after e5, I really didn't like my chances after d takes, and then like queen here. Even bishop here, things looked nice. So I thought to wait on this, and I played a bishop e3, which is just like knowing the plans of the opening can help you save yourself. And here I played bishop e3 with the intent to castle, which is what I had seen from so many of the engine lines. Bishop e7, and now I castle. And here you can do two things. Either you castle here, and now I can go e5, which is what I prepared. Oh, this is what happened in the game. Okay, well, this is what happened in the game. Or you can go like queen b6, I believe, and then this gave e5. I don't remember this line either. Probably takes, f takes, something like this. Anyways, castles was played, and now I decide e5 is the move. And believe it or not, YouTube, believe it or not, this is exactly what I had in my database prepared, and I did not know it. I was out of prep after c6. This is exactly how you have to play as white, but I don't know it in the game. Knight g4 is played. Okay, there's two options, but if you take first and knight g4 is not available. So now this knight has to go like to e8, h5, this knight is trapped. So yeah, this knight is forced to go to e8 unless you want to give a pawn. So my opponent just goes for the diligent knight g4 first. But then I go bishop g1, and I'm pressuring this, and bishop g1 was thematic, so I was pretty sure this is okay. And now I'm pressuring this on d6. My opponent takes, and I was happy to take back. I'm threatening this knight, and this knight is pretty pinned. This knight, I don't know what black is going to do with this. Knight h6, I have no idea. And I was looking at these sacks because they are possible, but they're all right for white. Then my opponent surprises me, and I have 57 minutes. Like, I've been working hard on this position. I've been taking time for my moves because I know that if I play the right move, I'm like winning almost. My opponent plays knight d takes e5. And I had calculated for white, and I had seen that this is completely winning for white. So the idea is that on takes, my opponent wants to go takes here and take off the defender from this knight to take back. But here I can take with the bishop, and after c5, taking the defender off the knight, I can take this knight, and if you take this bishop here, if you take this knight here, I can probably sack the exchange, and I have a bishop and a knight for a rook, and it's better. But this is the best way to play, I think. But here, if you take, I can take with the rook and defend my knight a third time and save myself. And then if you attack my rook, I can be free with a piece up. So I had seen all this, and so I was ready to take back. I was a bit scared, like I had outcalculated my opponent. I was like, what's going on? And my opponent just like plays bishop b1, bishop g5, I kill king b1, and then queen a5, and I'm like just completely like puzzled here. Of course, we see that it's a blunder now. I'm confident because you're sacking another, you're giving another piece to me. Thank you for the piece. But it's just like, I found it so weird because it was, yeah, this was played, okay, this was played after 12 minutes of thought. Like my opponent has seen probably that takes this, and I'm like, better, I can take even this pawn, and that it adds up to nothing. So queen a5, and then I go knight takes g4, I accept the two pieces that are given to me, and I had anticipated rook d8, and the knight taking here cleared the e5 square for me to play queen e5. Almost forcing a queen trade, which is sick. That's exactly what you want when you're up 2 pawns. And yes, I'm undefending this, but I am attacking this. And if you take here, I can save my knight and take into an endgame, and I'm up 2 pieces, and it's excellent. My opponent takes on d1, I take with my knight, and I had seen these things, but these give mates. And that's another component, the queen e5 being such an excellent resource. Queen d8, defending mate, but this is where you, okay. In my opinion, if you're playing somebody who has 300 elo above you and you're down 2 pieces, you can resign at this point in the game. My opponent should be polite and resign in the non-written rules of chess. That being said, you can keep going, but it's just a little bit disrespectful because you're telling your opponent that basically they're not good enough to convert this. That's how I'm taking it. So queen d8. Now I play bishop d4, threatening checkmate. Very good way to stop all these mating threats, mate here and this thing. So bishop d4, f6, bishop c4. I'm developing my pieces on tempo. It's so strong for white. King here, and now I go for queen e4, just laying back and loving life. c5 is played. I don't even know why you're giving, like, it doesn't even work, bro. I don't know. So I just go bishop c3, I'm patient. So now my opponent plays f5. It's like a desperate blow because it's not really a fork. I have queen e5 threatening mate, and then queen d7 is played, and now I go knight e3. And now my pieces are just so strong. I mean, it's completely over. I don't know why we're still playing this. F takes g4, and now apparently I have queen takes g5 with mate and 4, but I had seen rook hd1. This is my only mistake of the game. It's a mistake. It's still completely winning. The queen goes to e7, and actually now I would actually like to say to the engine that I found a quicker mate than you, rook d8, and that is a brilliant move, forcing the queen off of this g7 square, and after queen takes, it would be checkmate. My opponent resigned here after 24 moves. This is one of my shortest games that I have played so far in my OTB tournaments, and we pick up a fast round in round 3. Today is a double round, so I have a round later today, and I'm waiting for the pairings. It's almost time for me to go to the tournament, but yeah, see you for the recap of round 5. I have 3 out of 4 going for round 5. I hope I get a strong pairing finally, bro. Come on!